My name is Gavin Evans, and today I'm going to rank all of Alex Garland directed movies from worst to best. Just his directed movies, so I'm not going to talk about Sunshine or 28 Days Later, strictly the movies he directed officially. I'm just going to say now that if I included Dread in this list, it would easily be number one. That is his best directed movie. But that said, that's all rumors. There's no real confirmation that he did direct it. Officially, it's Pete Travis, so I'm not including it in this list. But anyways, let's begin with last place, and it is his newest movie, Men. I did not like this movie at all. Now, I will give credit where credit is due. This movie is incredibly well shot, and I thought the sound effects were really well utilized, but everything that this movie's trying to do thematically and narratively just doesn't work for me in any ways. And I couldn't go as into this as I wanted to in my review, but I guess I can now, so spoilers if you haven't seen it. But this whole movie is based on this foundation of the main character is breaking up with her boyfriend, and the boyfriend's like, if you break up with me, I'm going to kill myself. And then he goes ahead and kills himself, and the movie is about her dealing with the guilt of her causing his suicide. And that could have been a very compelling hook for this movie, but you only see it in those instances. The relationship in the other character doesn't feel fleshed out. It feels as half-assed as it comes, so it's not a good hook because it just feels like this over-the-top action by a character that we don't know at all, so it just doesn't work in that kind of way. Like, if we had flashbacks throughout this entire movie of their relationship and how he's overly controlling and how he's a bit of a prick, and then it ends with her being like, that's it, I've had enough, I'm breaking up with you. And then he goes like, well, if you do that, I kill myself. And then he kills himself, and you realize, oh, okay, by the end of the movie, this is why she feels that guilt. It would have put all the pieces together in a very fascinating way. But they don't do that. You know what's up within the first act of this movie, and it's done in a way that isn't effective in any means necessary. So you just simplify her boyfriend character to the idea of men, and then it just makes the whole movie feel like the idea is men is bad. I know some people are being like, okay, if you say that, then you don't fully grasp this movie. It's about grief and trying to move on and how toxic behaviors get passed on. And I get all that, but because the whole exploration of grief isn't done effectively, it just gets simplified to men is bad. So in his poor execution, he's done everything he's trying to do a huge disservice. And the whole idea of toxic masculinity, I hate using that word. I only do it because it's what the director's clearly trying to do and how it gets passed on from generation to generation. Like, come on, the men giving birth to each other. One time I'm like, okay, this is pretentious art house nonsense. And then the scene kept going on, and I swear, it went on for like 10 minutes. And it's just to the point where I can't take it seriously. It completely feels like a self-bit parody at a certain point. And I'm like, come on, like this could have been an effective body horror, but just time and time again, eventually you grow numb to it and it doesn't have any bit of impact. So I thought that was really stupid. I like the idea of the one actor, Wally Corkin, playing all those different dudes, but I just don't feel like it really did anything interesting with it. And when he's that little kid, it just, there's an uncanny valley and it just looked very goofy and I couldn't take it seriously. And Jesse Buckley does fine, but everything else in this movie, you've got the naked guy standing behind her house, which is just something that I think I've seen way too many times in horror movies and I just never find it scary. So look, I get what this movie's trying to do, I just think it completely fails at it and it just becomes simplified to the whole idea of men is bad, and I disagree fundamentally with that. I think asshole behaviors and actions are terrible, but you can't just sum that up as all men. And because the one guy plays every man and every guy is like that in this movie, it's quite clear that's the viewpoint of this movie. So that's why it's in last place. Wow, I really went in depth there. But anyways, my second favorite or second least favorite Alex Garland movie, depends how you view it, is Annihilation. Now this is a movie that lots of people love. And I definitely love elements of it. I think Natalie Portman does a great job in this movie. I love the visuals, I love the premise, and I love some of what it's trying to do. I love its exploration of self-destruction. I love the body horror moments when they're on the screen. Like that scene with the guts, and then you see the aftermath with the guy like just fossilized. I thought that was really incredible. I like the bear with the human screams. So there's lots of different elements of this movie that I love, but it just doesn't come together as much as I wish it would. And I think a big issue of mine with this movie is the fact that it's just not as deep or complex as it thinks it is. You know, it's approaching this premise in a very slow burn, art house type of way. But I think you've got yourself a great premise here for just a fun body horror movie. Like, it's right there, like this environment where everything's merging together. You could have so many great moments. You know, it should be more like The Fly and From Beyond than anything else. And I think the fact that he didn't take this direction with it is just very disappointing because it just moves at a slow rate and it doesn't have a lot on its mind. It's a very simple movie trying to be more complex than it really is. And the last act is just pretentious nonsense. It doesn't work for me. And that last scene between Natalie Portman and her alien meal self goes on for far too long. Visually stunning, but thematically it just falls short. So very mixed bag for me. The positives do outweigh the negatives, but nowhere near as good as it could be, so that's why it's in. Oh, and I should also mention, the supporting cast adds nothing to this movie, so that's why it's in the place that it is. But my favorite Alex Garland directed movie that isn't Dread is Ex Machina. This is him at its absolute best. I think it's a very simple movie, but that was the right approach for it. Instead of trying to be flashy and showy, it's just discussions of AI and humanity, and I found that to be more compelling than anything else in his other movies. I love how you've got this whole aspect where you don't know what the characters are planning or what they're doing, and it's just this who's in control here, who's manipulating who, and I love all that. It's very well shot, it's got a claustrophobic feel to it, and I do really like the ending. Even though getting to that point I did find to be a bit contrived. Domhnall Gleeson's character gets dumbed down to an unbelievable degree in the last act, and it does explore ideas that are nothing new, but I think everything it's trying to do for the most part, it does well. It's a damn solid movie. Not as great as it could be, but I enjoy it, and that's why it's in first place. Not including Dread. But anyways, what's your ranking of Alex Garland directed movies from worst to best? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for some more videos soon, and Gavin